Warm greetings and welcome to today's African Leadership Group, the Nigerian Leadership Series. My name is Itwa Igodalo, and I'm really very happy to be here today. And today we have a very special guest. A special guest worked in Nigeria before with the BPE, relocated to United States of America, where she has lived with her family, and now is running what we call the into the development of Africa. Our guest used to serve as an executive director with the Sunclave Investment Limited Group, Nigeria's leading agri fintech and grain finance company. She's also the founder and CEO of Mincon Corporation LLC, a global consultancy firm with a focus on economic development and providing services to clients across the globe with business interest in sub-Saharan Africa. She has worked for several years as an international business consultant, and she's passionate. She's a passionate advocate for advancing equity and opportunities in underserved communities in sub-Saharan Africa. She earned a bachelor's degree in statistics and economics from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a master's in mathematics. Can you imagine? Mathematics from the University of Aberdeen in Scotland. Maybe before the end of this program, she'll be teaching me some maths, okay, or some additional mathematics, okay? Her diverse background has undoubtedly contributed to her ability to navigate complex challenges and develop innovative solutions to problems. She is currently also the founder and the pioneer of the Innovate Africa Cup, and she'll tell us a little bit more about Innovate Africa and what they are trying to do in Africa and also in Nigeria. We're speaking on the subject, Emerging Africa Leadership. Emerging Africa Leadership. Please welcome with me Uloma Onyebuchi. Uloma, you're most welcome to the African Leadership Group, the Nigerian Leadership Series. I hope you're having a good time in the best country in the universe.
Yes, I am. I'm having a good time. I was delayed at the airport. My flight was cancelled from Lagos to Abuja with no information whatsoever. And my flight was supposed to be at 5:55. They moved it to 3:10 with no communication whatsoever. I got to the airport to only know that my flight has left, and there was no other flight coming to Abuja. No email, no text message. I pray that Africa changes, Nigeria changes.
Your flight was at 5:55 this morning.
5 p.m. yesterday. and they moved it
Oh,
to 3:10 p.m. and did not communicate with the passenger. Not an email, not nothing.
they moved it
So
to
I
3
had
p.m. today.
no yesterday. They moved it to
They moved it
earlier
up.
time. Up,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
and
And they
no
didn't tell you.
communication.
But
Arrived
they
at the
usually
airport.
do that.
They didn't. No
Okay.
email, nothing. They kind of remedied it today. They overdid themselves today to kind of compensate for yesterday. So I had to fly into Abuja this morning. So
So
that's
how did
been
they
the.
compensate today? Tell me.
They gave me priority. I booked Premier Economy. They moved it to business class. Tried to make me happy. Gave me back my money without. So they gave me a free ticket basically to fly in today. So and plus a refund.
They gave you a free ticket on business class.
Yes, yes.
That's interesting. Well,
I
I
guess
would miss my
because
flight for
I
a
had to
bit.
call someone to intervene, and I think that's what did that magic. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way.
You had to call who?
I had to call
I
someone
don't
to
pardon.
intervene. I had to call someone high up to intervene, and that was how it was eventually resolved, and probably give me some perks to make sure that was okay. But it shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't have to call anybody.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to call anybody. So you're lucky or you're fortunate that you knew someone high up.
Yes, yes, yeah. Not
Imagine if
everybody
you
will have that.
didn't. I know. So Africa, we need a new leadership in Africa.
We do, we do, we do.
Okay, maybe
And
first of all, let me ask you about this Innovate Africa Cup. What is it all about, and why did you establish Innovate Africa? And how does that work with your consulting practice, Mekong Corporation? What was the
yeah,
what was the
in fact,
connection?
Micron Corporations Limited gave birth to Innovate Africa Conference because what Micron Corporations do is is a business consulting company. Um, my network is a bit epileptic. If it goes off, I'll try and reconnect it. For everyone listening, my name is Uloma, Onyebuchi, as introduced. So I'm the CEO of Micron Corporations Limited and also the CEO and founder of Innovate Africa. Marcon Corporation Limited actually gave birth to Innovate Africa because we were looking for solutions for the teething problems, the bottlenecks we were having, trying to connect businesses from the diaspora to partner with businesses in Africa in order to build infrastructure and strengthen our infrastructure development sector of Africa as a whole. So we were dealing with Ghana, Nigeria. So we bring Africans in diaspora, African Americans, diaspora who were interested in investing in infrastructure development, not community-based infrastructure development in Africa, whether it's in agro, business or in health, real estate, aviation, name it, the energy sector as well. So we work a consultant company that make that process seamless for them. So we do the due diligence, making sure we're matching them with the right partners who are credible. So we do all that due diligence, match them, and then make the process. Sometimes we connect them to um, financiers who would also kind of fund the whole project because it's just a different sector of micro corporation. So in doing this, we found out that a lot of investments were being lost, and people were being Africans in diaspora were being discouraged because of number one, business processes in Africa, the bureaucracy. It takes longer for anything to be processed within the government sector or the agencies. So I mean, we started thinking instead of us to keep complaining about these bottlenecks and having these investors sometimes lose money. Sometimes they have to pack up and go because there's a lot that goes on. And coming from America, bribery is not accepted, even though sometimes there are ways to those things, but it's not allowed. And we decided, okay, we will start Innovate Africa Corporation, which really is focused on transforming leadership and investments in Africa, especially infrastructure development. Because if you're talking about growth in Africa, if you're talking about sustainable development growth in Africa, if the infrastructure is not there, we will all keep running round in circles and keep depending on the outside to be able to, develop or whatever, however we want to look at that. It's not sustainable. So how can we sustain that? Everything rises and falls on leadership. So if the leadership is not right, and when I say leadership, we're not talking about the government lead, maybe politics. No, we're talking about business leadership. We're talking about grassroots leadership. We're talking about even youth leadership. So is leadership at every form. You're a leader, I'm a leader in any small sphere that you are leading one, two people, three people, four people, you're a leader. Our leaders in the federal government, state governments are from our society. They're people, they're from us. So if you're not leading right with integrity, showing accountability, how can you then how can you then castigate someone else who's doing something wrong? So it starts with you. So we decided to form Innovate Africa, and then we started advocating for good governance within African governments. We also started pushing for real direct investment. Diaspora investment in infrastructure. That's the focus of Innovate Africa. Let's develop our infrastructure. Because if the African infrastructure is developed, I'm telling you, for instance, the tariff war that China and America had. Imagine if we had infrastructure, we have one of the cheapest. I think apart from India, we have the cheapest labor. If those companies would have been heading to Africa, you can imagine what would have done to the GDP of Africa or the economic development of Africa. That is where we're lacking, and we need to do better.
Okay, so I know you are having a conference sometimes in Abuja in the next month or two. Maybe you can tell us briefly about that conference and what the focus is. But more importantly, what are the areas in which Innovate Africa is hoping to work effectively, block by block, blick by blick? I'm not one to support theoretic things and just general things are being discussed on that level. I want to know the little building blocks that you intend to put in place to ensure that Innovate Africa and possibly your consulting company can drive infrastructure, investment, and influence good governance in Africa, starting maybe with Nigeria. I want to know the specifics that you're thinking of doing. And then after you've done that, you can then tell us what you think, in your own opinion, are the challenges of leadership in Africa. Go straight to the point, because there's quite a few questions coming, so that we can take each question very succinctly and get to the bottom of this. Thank you.
So the number one thing that we're doing is advocating for good governance. For this first phase of Innovate Africa, we're focusing on leadership transformation, leadership of purpose instead of leadership with integrity and accountability. So what we do, basically, we are on the field talking to government leaders. We're advocating for, even with elections, having credible elections. So there's a lot of work we're doing in the election, in electing our leaders around that all over Africa. There's a lot of work we're doing with advocating with ECOWAS, trying to build a collaboration within not just the ECOWAS region, but ECOWAS region reaching out to the south region, to the north region, to collaborate. Africa needs to unite. So those are the areas we're focused on in terms of leadership. In terms of infrastructure, we're focusing on building real partnerships, bringing in diasporas that are interested in investing their money in Africa, and advocating for the government to kind of push back on the bureaucracies that can enable these individuals or even companies who are interested to invest to come in and invest in Africa and thrive. So those are the two areas we're actually really focused on specifically.
Okay. Those are the specific things that you're going to do, or what other things do you have in mind, and what kind of partnerships would you be able to put together to make this happen?
What kind of partnership in terms of the diasporas who investors or the financiers or innovators who are coming? Can you be a little
Uh,
specific with that question?
okay, so do you have, for example, a list of diasporas that are coming? Do you have a list of diaspora people coming? Do you have a list of diasporas that are interested in investing in Africa? What's the thinking and what are the thoughts in that regard?
We do. So for instance, this is why we also started the conference, because the conference is an easy vehicle for them to come in. Either way, if this is the first time we're even bringing this conference to Africa. We usually do it in Washington D.C., but this year we decided we're going to bring it to Africa so that the diaspora can come and see that the narrative that they always hear in the media is not always true. Yes, we have some challenging problems, but it's not as negative as is put out in the media. There's no business environment in the world, whether US, China, anywhere, that does not have their own, unique business, unique challenges. So that's number one, what we're doing, trying to change that narrative. And by doing that, the conference is an easy way when you bring African leaders, innovators, these investors from the diaspora, homegrown entrepreneurs, innovators in the room to discuss the challenging problems we have so that they can proffer innovative solutions. That's the easiest way to bring this. We have a list of a list of investors who are coming from the diaspora to Africa, from Saudi Arabia, from America, from Europe, who are going to be here at the conference on the 24th to 23rd. And also, we're also having an investors roundtable, which is specific. So we have homegrown innovators and entrepreneurs pitching to these investors who are have always indicated and even on their way to Africa, to Abuja for this conference.
Okay, very good. I did then ask that what are the specifics, what are the step by steps that you are going to be able to connect diaspora with Africa? What are the steps by steps that you intend to do to ensure that somehow or the other we do have a very, very good and great process in Africa to ensure that we can have leadership in Africa, we can have development in Africa, we can have this infrastructure in Africa, step by step process that you're thinking we can engage in?
We can. The number one thing is the conference. Step by step is the advocacy. The advocacy is the main thing because you have to push. You have to go talk to these leaders, and try to make them see that what they how they're leading right now is not the best for Africa. Africa is emerging in the next 10 years or five in the next 5 to 10 years. Africa will be leading. Every resource is coming from Africa. We need to start adding value to our mineral resources. We can't keep exporting them. So those are the areas we're looking at: mining, we're looking at agriculture, agro processing, especially. So we're bringing in a lot of investors who are interested in agriculture, especially agro processing, adding value. I can give you an instance, and I say this all the time. There are 4 countries in Africa. That's just a specific one I'm going to give. 4 countries in Africa who are cocoa beans producers. In amongst the 10 largest cocoa beans producers in the world, and that's Ghana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, and Ghana,
Nigeria.
Cote d'Ivoire, and Nigeria, yes. And these 4 countries all together export their cocoa beans and make only $10 billion, $10 billion in revenue per year. A small country in Belgium makes over that 10 billion revenue, as at the last estimation, over that 10 billion revenue, buying our cocoa beans and adding value to it by creating so many value chains, where there's chocolate, selling it to the rest of the world and Africa, and they make more than that. So you can imagine if a country like Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, who they have a border, can collaborate and decide to create a whole ecosystem around cocoa beans. Maybe bring hectares of land, join it together, and create the right environment and the right incentive for even any investor from anywhere around the world to come and build those factories in Africa, you can imagine how far that we go. We won't need to ask IMF or seek for a loan to develop Africa. Everything we need in Africa is within Africa. So it starts by us talking. It starts about us taking the action to make sure that these things are working. And that's what Innovate Africa need to take the action. Those are the specific we're concerned with right now. And it develops as we go.
Very good. Let me ask you a question, and then I'm going to hand over to Pastor Sonny to please take over from here so that he can drive the points home. Number one, what do you think is the challenge of leadership in Africa? What is the challenge of leadership in Africa today, and why we're gasping so much for infrastructure and for development and for some kind of economic direction? What is the challenge, and why is Africa in this quagmire that it is in right now? And then that's number one. And number two is similar to number one. What do you, especially people from your generation, intend to do to ensure that the right kind of leadership emerges in Africa? Did you hear my questions? Did you hear my questions? Are you muted?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I
Can you hear
can hear
me?
you. Did you hear my questions?
No, I couldn't hear it, and the network is epileptic. Yeah, you can repeat the question. I didn't hear the question. No.
Okay. The first question is, what do you think is the challenge in leadership in Africa? Why has leadership in Africa not really hit the right spots over time? What is challenging the ability of Africa to have the right kinds of leaders? And even if you are able to, which sort of African leaders have sort of hit the spot at different times? Okay. Let's look at the positive instead of the negative. That's one. What's the challenge? Why is Africa
Yeah.
seeming
Yeah.
unable to bring out the right kind of leadership? Who should have taken these decisions? For example, 45 years ago, Singapore was almost maybe 56 years ago, Singapore was almost a wasteland. Okay. I know for a fact that 45 years ago, Dubai was had only one, what do you may call, one five-star hotel in the whole of Dubai, and it had no significant airport. But today you can go to
Mhm.
Dubai and even live in the airport and not go anywhere else. It's a whole city out there. Okay. And these are the products of some kind of credible leadership. So why has Africa not been able to produce a Lee Kuan Yew or produce a president like the Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, of Dubai? That's number one. Then number two, what is your generation, what is people like yourselves going to do to ensure that the right kind of leadership emerges in Africa? We're also going to be opening the place up for questions in a few minutes, but from here, Sonny will take over to ask you a few questions. Jumoke might ask you a few questions, and then we then take it from there. So what do we need to do to make sure that the right kind of leadership emerges in Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think the first challenge we have in Africa really is it's not rocket science. It's persistent governance and institutional weakness. It's just persistent governance and institutional weakness. There are some Africans we don't strengthen our institutions. Our leadership is about personalities, as opposed to institution. If we have strengthened institutions, the right rule of law, I think Africa will move ahead because we have the talents, we have the skills. It just is the leadership. There's no institution strength. There's no strength in the institution. We don't have strong institutions. We have countries like Mauritius, Rwanda, who are trying. South Africa maybe, but it's still very much limited in Africa. That's number one. Two, there are gaps or corruption, especially corruption and political instability is part of what it's making Africa not to emerge. Africa is emerging. Let's not think Africa is not emerging. Africa is emerging, but what will make it sustainable is what we're talking about here. So there's corruption. How can we mitigate corruption? How can we mitigate political instability? Infrastructure and educational gaps. Those are some of the reasons because we major on the minors and minor on the majors. That has always been the problem in Africa, and it's all falls on corruption. How can we mitigate corruption? Innovation. An emerging leader should focus on innovation, digitalization of our processes, of our systems. We should be at this time because we have a lot of young people. First of all, getting the old guards out and getting the younger dynamic leaders who are, forward thinkers. They're reform-minded leaders, young dynamic leaders under the ages of 35, 45, 55 even, who are very innovative. And they make up the 70% of African demographics. So why are we not pushing those? Why are we not getting involved as young people? Why are we not getting involved? Why are we letting the old who have nothing to offer still remaining in government? How can we do that? We can only do that by getting involved. We should not stay out. You cannot change something from the outside. You can only change something from the inside. The young people is actually a call to action. The young people should get involved in politics, get involved in businesses. Also, even as you get involved in businesses, how are you leading? What is the culture as a CEO, even as a supervisor as a team leader? How are you leading? What is your culture? What is your integrity? Are you accountable? Those are the things we should look at. If we're calling for the old guys to go, which they should go because they have nothing to offer, it's obvious they have nothing to offer. How are we as young people thinking? Are we reformers? Are we forward thinkers? Are we thinking of Africa, placing Africa in the global stage, at the global center, making Africa a global center? This is what we should be thinking about. And I'm calling on all young people to get involved. Get involved in politics. It doesn't matter how dirty it is. Get involved. Get involved in every way you are. Push the right narrative. Lead it. That's what leadership is. Lead it. The only way to end corruption is by innovation, digitalizing our processes. If that is not done, I don't know. You can't totally eradicate corruption. Obviously, there's corruption everywhere in America, but you can reduce it by digitalizing our processes, getting the civil society involved in every process, a governance of inclusivity. It's very important, and collaborations. The private sector needs to collaborate with the government. It cannot be separated because it's the private sector that drives the economy. So these are some of the challenges that Africa have. But to mitigate it is these things that I've listed out. That's the only way we can move forward, and that's the only way Africa can emerge. We should have reform-minded thinkers who are getting involved in politics, in businesses, in all spheres of the economy of our beautiful continent, especially Nigeria. That's the only way we can do that. Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Hello, Uloma.
Yeah.
Um, Great. My name is Sonny Enebi.
Hi, Sonny. How are you?
Fine. Good afternoon. A pleasure to be here on the platform with you. Thank you for those very, very good shots you have said about getting involved. And I like that aspect of getting involved. And the real issue is people are thinking of a lot of things, especially the young people. Survival is foremost on their mind. However, politics is also what will guarantee their long-term survival because look, we worry about doctors, engineers, but politics control all these things. So the real question is the young people, the younger people, and I hear you when you say we should kick out the old guards and get in new breeds. Well, in Africa, that may be a very tall order, given that, for instance, in Cameroon, 92-year-old Paul Biya is running for re-election. And in Ivory Coast, 83-year-old Alassane Ouattara is running for a re-election again for the fourth time,
Uganda.
for Biya for the seventh time. Do you understand? And
Uganda.
our president is 73. By the time he finished serving 2 terms, he will be in his 80s. Atiku is still wanting to contest. He's in his mid-70s, and they have the resources. So getting involved is expensive. How do we then get ourselves together so that we can mobilize the necessary fund? I mean, I'm not that young anymore, maybe the younger people, yeah. But how do the young people get themselves together, mobilize the necessary funds to make impact and begin to take over? It may not be automatic, but what are the gradual 1, 2, 3 steps that we can take?
Well, first of all, we have to be strategic. We're very emotional people in Africa. We're too
Very
religious
good.
sometimes. We have to be
Absolutely.
strategic. Where's this
Mhm.
Jew? We say we have to be strategic. We can't just act with emotion, because the people who we are showing emotion don't care. So how can we strategically get involved? First, we need to unite as a people, the young people. This whole Nigerian way of doing things or African way of doing things of, okay, it's my turn. We need to stop it as young people. It's your turn. It's only limited. We're looking at generational transformation. Okay. So that mindset needs to go. And the only way we can do it is through town halls like this, where we're educating young people. In our curriculums, are we educational curriculums? Are we teaching entrepreneurship? Are we teaching leadership? Are there anything in our curriculum that is teaching real intervention, or is just academic? This is where we need to focus on. Like I always say, I think my generation is gone, to be honest. My generation, yes, we might have reform thinkers, we might have global thought leaders, but we are so involved in this old Nigerian or African way of doing things that we need to capture the younger generations from primary school to secondary school, even now the tertiaries. How are we getting or advocating for the government to do the right thing, for the educational sector to do the right thing, to make sure these subjects, like I mentioned, the entrepreneurship, leadership skills, are actually taught from primary school. In America, when you get into a school, primary school, from primary school, they're teaching kids how to research, how to do debates, how to lead. We don't have those in our schools. That needs to change. Let's start from there. Until we go to the root of the problems and start fixing this thing, we can only talk. Yes, your talking can get, if you're lucky to meet a right reform-minded person in a particular sector, they can happen. But there are other people within the civil service who are so used to the old way, they're not going to let you do what they will frustrate you. So we need to make sure that we're voting. They say our votes don't count, but I don't believe in it. Our votes do count. We just don't stand to make sure it counts. We're all scared of dying, but we should not be scared of dying for the nation we love. So those are some of the things. Let's start with the educational sector. How do we teach our children financial literacy? How do we teach them entrepreneurship? How do we teach them leadership skills? So that by the time they get into my stage, they're already on the global stage. This is where we should start. We like the bandwagon approach to things. No, we need to go back and get our educational sector right. In terms of funding, it only takes unity for us to do that. How did Obama become president? Strategic thinking. Until we stop being in playing politics of emotion and start being strategic in the way we think, in the way we generate funds for things like championing the other day, a woman, even women, young women. I had a friend who was running for, I think, House of Assembly in Imo State, and she reached out to a few of us to, kind of donate money to her. I know how many people bashed her down within the group, telling her, are you out of your mind? Do you know what you're doing? there was no encouragement apart from a few of us who actually encouraged her to go ahead and do what she needs to do, and we contributed for her. So we need to start thinking that we can do it. Until we think that we can do it, and stop looking at what is your reality is now, but you can change your reality. Every reality is created. So we can change that reality by just thinking and being strategic. It's just that simple. There's no other way to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you. Just we are thinking about leadership skill and literacy in schools. Just to use this example of this guy that was shot in US yesterday. But what's his name again? Somebody Cock, Charlie.
Okay.
And
Charlie.
he was going around universities,
Exactly.
engaging youths and
Young people.
getting them involved. And I hear that he was very instrumental in helping Trump to get the younger
Win.
voters
Young people.
because he
Yes.
went to
Yes.
the right people. He knew that the universities were academic environment. So Uloma, maybe it's a challenge for us. Maybe you
Please.
can become our own Charlie Cock in Nigeria, go around universities and try to pull those youths, because what they know today is people that go to give them money. But our universities are supposed to be a place where ideas are debated.
I debated and formed
So
actually.
let's get them together to debate ideas, alternative forms of government, and maybe we can begin to get engagement from that level. But I quite agree with you that we should even start from primary school, secondary school. But the issue is, how do we then influence legislation that will include those in the educational curriculum?
Again, the weakness is in our institutions. These agencies, it's not as if those things are not there. They are there. But whoever is leading in within the, well, let's even say NUC or everything, we always say, oh, the legislature, those legislations are there. It's not just being acted upon. They are there, they're existent. It's not, if you read a constitution, those legislations are there. We're not just acting and implementing them. And that is where advocacy works. But what I find in Africa most times when people do advocacy, they focus on the money they make as opposed what they are trying to achieve, the objective of the advocacy. And that's where it goes wrong. So if we can, as a leader, have integrity and be accountable, when you're advocating, are you advocating for money, or are you advocating to actually bring transformation? That's where the real question is. These things are not rocket science. We have the answers, but we're not implementing them right. When people say, oh, the legislations are there, they are. For instance, if you go, I'm going to give you an example. There's a legislation in CBN. If they signed a certificate in CBN, if you're going to import goods outside of Nigeria, you're actually supposed to pay with Naira, but no one implements it. Those are the gaps we're talking about. The person leading, you're calling Tinubu, you're calling your governors, the person leading in those organizations, what are you doing to bring change? That's where we need to ask ourselves real questions. We're focusing too much. It starts with you and I. Why are those why is that agreement, that partnership, why is it not being implemented? Look at what happened to our dollar. Why? It's not being implemented just because someone in leadership is just looking the other way. And that's why we need to digitalize our system. We cannot, it has to be done, and we need to push for it. We need to have people going, pushing for these things and meaning to bring, or they don't stop until they bring change.
They don't stop until they bring change. The people that
How did
were
China
pushing,
become Yeah, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
How did China become? This was 15, 20 years ago. It took one man's vision, a visionary leader, to say, okay, what they retained their culture. They didn't change from their culture. They infused democracy into their own original original system. They didn't change their whole culture to become democratic. No, there are some elements and forms of democracy, but they still remained China, country. That's who they are. And what did they do? They sent out their young ones into Europe, America, to those schools, and gave them incentives better than they will receive in America to come back home. And that's how China became the China you know today. standing shoulder by shoulder almost with America. Why can't we do the same in Africa? Instead, when we see leaders who are doing this, what do? We join hands with the Western world to fight them, sometimes we create opposition to distract them for what they're doing, or fight to remove them from government, using other African leaders to achieve that. That needs to stop. Africa needs to unite for us to make any headway. Those are the real issues that we should be talking. Those are the real issues. Those are the challenges of Africa.
Yeah, but a lot of people, and look, I'm not, let me just play a bit of the devil's advocate here. So a lot of people will say, look, even in Nigeria as it is, we can't unite. Okay. Ghana the other day was saying Nigeria should get out of Ghana. South Africans are driving out also of South Africa, Kenyans. So even the issue of African uniting is a tall order. But let's even limit ourselves to first our country. We must be united before we can even get others to unite with us. So even within ourselves now, if you wanted to do anything, we are so polarized, either on ethnic lines or religious lines. And I like people like you that are probably more open-minded, but the majority of people are not. So where do we begin to solve this problem from? I think that's the real question. Where?
Town halls like this. You talked about Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
I'm sure you knew what the the liberalism in America within the universities were before Trump.
Yeah.
Did you think before Charlie Kirk and probably Elon Musk, who used Twitter to also disseminate some information that changed some of the young people's mind, did you ever think it was possible to get students from universities in America to become more conservative and vote for Trump? It takes one will, somebody who says, I can do this and never gives up. Because their drive is not in themselves. Their drive in the transformation that they know is possible and can happen and will happen if there's a will. That is where we, like you said, yes, we're surviving, but we can't keep surviving. At some point, we need to stand. At some point, we need to stand and say, okay, enough of this, of that. We can bring change. We really can. The problem is that we don't believe that we can bring change because we're so used to what is going on that we don't believe that a new reality can be created. And when I'm having conversations with people around Africa, it's the same thing. Everybody thinks it can be done. Senegal just did something that all of us saw. Rwanda and Burundi, Burkina Faso, even though I may not agree with the military regime or what, as in the way they are in power, it should be through democracy and the people, civil society. But look at what he's doing. But we're fighting him. We're joining
Uloma,
forces with.
People say to do that, you need an autocrat that probably, given, and this is another argument I've had, that given the way we are, democracy is not what is good for us. That if you say
I
democracy,
agree. 100%.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, look at the kind of democracy we are. Look, people that have not eaten, people that, can barely feed themselves and whatever. Even though you say our votes count, truth of the matter is, in a lot of the rural villages, they are, when you hear structure, these guys are bought. So you have one politician controlling a group of 100 and something people, a group of 200 people, and they are promised 5,000 or 10,000 for voting for us. They actually thumbprint or vote for that person that gives them those kind of things. So no matter what you say, they voted and their vote counted, but they were bought. So what kind of democracy is that? And they are hungry.
I agree. But I like to dwell on solutions and not challenges, right? Fine,
These are
okay.
the problems on ground. How do we
It is
come to
true.
overcome them?
Okay. So how we overcome them, like I say to you, by being strategic, not emotional. You can't beat them. So what do? You find a system that works. Go to these people. Do we do it? We need to unite to raise enough money. It may not be now, we may not change it today, but trust me, you're planting seeds that eventually will transform these problems. It may not be, we may not see it now. For instance, the convenor's brother ran for Edo State governorship. He won, clearly. But of course, Nigeria happened, right? But imagine if we were more strategic and thought 10 times ahead of what they could do. Do you
Yeah.
think it would have been possible? It's because
Well,
we've given up. Before we even
okay.
tried, we've given up. We cannot give up.
I absolutely agree with you. For the Edo State matter, there was a lot of push, there was a lot of hope, but the system came back fighting, and what they say to you is go to court. So a situation where, and I like one young man that is pushing that we must get interested in what INEC is doing. By December or very soon, they are supposed to change the leadership of INEC, and Nigerians should get involved because the president of the country is the one who nominates the chairman of INEC and sends to the National Assembly for confirmation. Today, we have a National Assembly working with the executive. So, if we want to have a credible election, I think now is the time, or what do you think, to begin to push,
No, now,
right? To push to say the president cannot unilaterally nominate who becomes the head of INEC, because what are we going to get? The president nominates,
absolutely.
the National Assembly rubber stamps. What do you think will happen?
The National Assembly is an extension of the president. These are the things we're talking about corruption.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
we can start by we can start by advocating town halls,
No,
meetings
that's
like
what
this,
we're doing on this platform,
getting
and I
in
agree with you.
exactly. We have to have more of these, getting into the minds of the people, get into the campuses, like you rightly said, Charlie Kirk. He changed,
Yeah,
transformed minds. And
yeah.
until you transform someone here, even the guy who is taking 1,000 naira to go and
Mm.
stamp votes, he's not transformed in his mind.
Yeah.
Until we transform them in our mind, in their minds, you're not going to get any results from them because they can only live within the limitation of what they know. How much are we doing as young leaders to go out there? If you say you're advocating for a cause, how much are you doing? What is your objective? What are you trying to achieve? What are the results? Can we start from there? And it's not, I'm not just, you might say it's cliche. It's not cliche. It doesn't have to change now. It's not a bandwagon, it's a system that has been there over decades. It would take a systematic, strategic positioning to be able to change it. And it may not be now, but you're planting a seed that eventually won't transform. Africa is emerging. We are not where we were. It took people who had the will to change it. Look at Mauritius. Was Mauritius where it is today? They have one of the strongest institutions in political institutions and otherwise in Africa. Look at Rwanda. So it's possible. There are examples, pockets of examples in Africa that shows it's possible. In Nigeria, we need to start thinking and believing first that it's possible. With God's help, that's the greatest of all them that can do the transformation. But he's put you here to do the work and he can transform. Let's do the work. Enough of talking. Let's is a call to action. Let's get involved. Let's do the work. Start from where you can control. You never know the mind you're changing.
Absolutely. We have a few people that want to join in the conversation. I think this idea I just spoke about, Charlie Kirk, has just given me an idea, but maybe I probably don't have the energy to go around Nigerian campuses anymore. But
You
look,
can
we are
raise
ready to
people.
fund, we are ready to fund young people like them who can get in there and do this job. So anybody on the platform, young people ready to do this, the ALG Youth Wing, I think we are going to get in that space and begin to have those healthy debates on campuses. Bring them back again,
Absolutely.
and it will be very good. Let me get the people
Even in secondary
involved.
schools, primary schools,
Yeah,
you can go down, you
secondary
can go all the way
schools.
to primary,
You're right.
secondary school. That's where they're formed. You can go down there. We need to start doing that. We need to. It's not just speaking, in conferences or whatever. Get down, get to do the work. Like I said, our conference is mainly to just start very deep conversations, but the work is an after in the field. What are we doing? The resolutions that are going to be reached from this conference. How are we taking it back to the people, to the grassroots, and trying to change minds? It's here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some great ideas coming out of this. We will engage further. Let me get a few people whose hands have been raised a while. We will take about two or three at the same time. I hope you have a pen to note it. You can take the questions. So Bola Oshibodu, your hand is raised. After that, Boniface Chizia, then I take Fai Otaji. We'll take those three first. If there are comments, please be brief. If it's a question, also be brief so that we can get more people in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bola Oshiboju, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Uloma, I just laugh. I'm not discouraging anybody because I'm an 80-year-old. But when you talk of these young people, are they going to come from the sky? Are they not going to be Nigerians? You remember some years ago when we had I think different times, two young people heading the lower assembly, and everybody was happy in Nigeria. Oh, that is a youth, that's a young man. And what did he do? The same thing with the lady later. I'm just giving you that example. Number two, my concern is with the local government, where you have the governor. When people were complaining, they now passed a law whereby funds are now straight from Abuja to local government directly. But these funds are not being spent. It's still being controlled by the governor. You find a state, all the chairmen of the local governor are from the same party. I don't want to mention a particular state. Number three, everybody is quoting Rwanda, Rwanda. I just laugh. If you know what goes behind the scene, the Oyinbos just decide to look the other way around. I am able to tell you because I used to work for the African Union Commission, so I know what is going on there. So I just like when people continue to mention Rwanda. To be a president like Rwanda, the democracy will just be on paper. It is autocracy going on there. Let me just keep quiet now. Bye-bye.
Thank you for that contribution. You mentioned the AU. One of the problems of Africa is actually the AU. So that as far as I'm concerned, that organization needs to go. As far as I'm concerned, one of the major problems is the AU. That organization is there doing nothing. In terms of what you said about Rwanda, we're looking at progression here. Okay, we're not dwelling on the challenges. These challenges are there. We're dwelling on how we can mitigate them. So we can't solve a problem by staying on the old system. We have to move away from that. That's what emerging leadership is. Emerging leadership is a leader who has seen the challenges, who has seen the problems, but has a reformed mind to find other ways strategically to beat the problem. Is a solutionist. That's what emerging African leadership is about. We can't keep dwelling on the old system. We are in the system already. It's not taking us anywhere. So what else can we do? Let me give you a metaphor. You push someone to the wall. They're already there at the wall. What else can they do? They bounce right back. And if we had winter in Africa, in this country called Nigeria, we would not be the country we are today. If we had winter. That's just a metaphor I'm giving you. So staying on the old, that's the thing. The mindset has to change. That's why we're saying the change has to start from the mind. Until we know and we believe, and we're giving you these examples. You might say Rwanda, but there is Mauritius. There are other countries. There's Burundi just coming up. And it's not a holistic, but the elements of that, we are very progressive in Africa. Look at our young people and the innovations they're coming up with, but there's no support. Why? Because we're not trying to change the way the old system is. That's what we're talking about. That's what Innovate Africa is about. Enough of talking about problems. We need to take action, and that action is what Charlie Kirk is doing. That action is what even Elon Musk did, even though there's a fallout. That action is what you and I can do. Ma'am, like before my father passed away, he passed away at 90. I told him, Daddy, your generation failed us to his face. And it is true. And he had some wise words to say. And he agreed that generation failed us. We cannot continue to be like that generation. We need to have a forward-thinking solutions for Africa. And it starts with us. That's what we're saying. We're not neglecting the challenges or negating it. We're not saying those challenges are not there, but we cannot keep talking and dwelling on challenges. We have to find the way out. And that way is some of the things that we've raised here, some of those ideas that we need to take and implement and make sure that we bring about change. Like I said, it may not even be right now in my generation. The Africa you're seeing today had people who planted those seeds that has transformed some of the leadership you're seeing in Africa today. People who believed. And look at where we are today. Look at fintech. By the way, fintech started from Africa. The mobile money, it started from Africa. Look at what our young people are doing today. Without support, without anything. You can imagine if we transform our minds from the primary to what would happen to Africa. It is imagined. Let's not, Africa is already imagined. Africa is already at the global stage, at the global center. Is how to sustain that, is what we're saying. And to sustain that, we need to shift our mind. It has to be a total paradigm shift. And that's what some of us are advocating. That's what some of us are pushing. And there is not just here in Nigeria, there's so many people who are pushing for these things around Africa. And it can happen. We can create a new reality. It is possible. We just have to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that we're running a cause and not for ourselves. Integrity and accountability. If we're calling somebody to that, we better be that too. That's what I'm saying. And your points are taken. They're valid points, but we have to shift from that to solution. The young people you're talking about, how do we get the young people? Is by grooming them. I have a group of young women I'm mentoring and young men I'm mentoring, and I know their mindset is different. By the time they're at the stage where they can move, things will move. So we can't keep standing on the old. We need to move away from this and start thinking strategically. We can't, everybody talks about their feelings. If feelings won't do nothing for you, it is the action you put to bring transformation that will bring transformation. Imagine if Charlie Kirk stayed and was, on his emotion, there wouldn't have been a conservative American young students right now backing up Trump. It wasn't possible before he came on scene, and other few people like the Candace Owen.
Okay.
So we have to do the work.
Absolutely agree with you, Uloma. Thank you very much. Like I said, we'll be taking like 3 questions. I agree absolutely. Hope is the light that refuses to die, even in the darkest nights. Okay, it is the anchor that holds the soul steady. So we must keep hope alive. Let's take 3 questions so that you can just give a shot at them. There are a lot of hands that are up. Boniface Chizea, please, your question, your comments, if you can make it brief.
Fine. Okay, that's
Thank
fine.
You,
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation, Uloma. First of all, let me say congratulations, because what you're trying to do is courageous, so I think that's the way to go. So a positive outlook. So you believe that the bottle is, the glass is half full. So I think that's commendable. But let me say, the experience showed at the airport is not common, so what it meant was the flight was brought forward. So it's not a common experience here. So the experience here is that flights are delayed and eventually they're canceled. So, and of course, you got out of it pretty well, so use the connections and you're able to do that. Well, the space you are in, we have your counterpart here in Nigeria. We have a Ministry for I think it's digital economy and innovation. That's a well-spoken minister, Tujani, Bosun Tujani. I think that's all. Like you did say in your presentation, Nigerians, the youths are doing quite well in digital space, so they're doing quite well. And so that's commendable. There's a way to go. But when you want to talk about infrastructure, it's a bit challenging because you have instability of policies. I live at Lekki Phase 1, and there's a link bridge that was built here. It was built in the understanding that there's going to be the tolls were going to be collected on that bridge. And they were not able to sustain it. They were not able to sustain it. So people protested, and you can imagine if an investor, it was like a public-private sector partnership, and the investor put his money there with the hope that it's going to recoup from tolls, so it didn't happen. But we mustn't give up hope. But I'm quite interested. You talked about strong institutions. In fact, I'm going to be with the lawyers tomorrow, also talking about the same thing. You can't have, you can't have institutions that are strong if you don't have good leadership. If somebody comes to leadership, come through a corrupt process, is borrowed money and invested a humongous amount of money to win elections, when he comes in, the first order of business will be to try and recoup that investment. And so you have corruption is entrenched, it's being perpetuated. So like you did observe, it was the end. I think the way to start really is to make sure that the selection process has some integrity. Yeah. So yes, select people, and select people who will come and then want to think beyond themselves. People who have vision, want to, have a sense of, let me have some legacy, let me leave something, that say this happened when I was there. So we need to foreground selection process. I think that's important. But I'm not despondent. I think the Nepal experience, I hope that our leaders are, of course, they're following what's happening all over the place. In Nepal experience, what happened there? I mean, they tried to ban social media. That was surprising. And government has been sacked today. So we can't lose hope. I'm sure that such experiences are not being lost on our leaders, And we pray it doesn't happen in Nigeria, because it happens here. It's going to be explosive. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Faye, go ahead with your comment and your question.
Thank you very much, sir. I hear you, Uloma, and I agree with you that it is possible to get the change and kick these leaders out. It is very possible. But the biggest challenge we face is solving the hunger problem. Why? Because hunger has been weaponized by these leaders. It's going to be a case of how much money can you give? How much money? They have all the big bags. So my question is, how do you think we can solve funding problem to solve the hunger problem? And then when we then find the money, we need to then find who has the integrity to manage. Those are the two things I think if you can help us unpack, we might have an idea. But is it possible to have a set of young minds who can move these years? But when you go to these other youths in the secondary school, the primary school, you need to give them food. And there's a politician that is ready to do way more than that with all the money they have already stolen. So I think that is something into consideration. Thank you.
There's a politician that politician is one man. Let's take, for instance, we need to be practical about these things. Let's say, for instance, you and I decide we want to go and speak to a primary school, because the problem is that we're taking leadership outside of us. I think that's what Africa, it's deficit in Africa. We think leadership is about the governor, the president. Leadership is you and I. The emerging leadership is you and I. Imagine two of us decide we're going to go, for instance, Abuja was a primary school in Abuja. You and I can contribute money and buy food for these kids and feed them. And after feeding them, you spend an hour, 2 hours changing their minds. These things are practical things that we can do. That's what collaboration is about. Because we're a divided people, but we need to come together. When you collaborate as a people, you see the changes you want to see. We need to collaborate as a people. That's where that solution lies. If one individual who's stealing money can do that, we cannot be angry with that. That's not going to change it. What's going to change it is the action you and I who believe that there could be a change, there can be another way, does. Is in our you and I action that will transform those students that we're talking about. We need to look at ourselves as leaders. You are a leader in your own right. I am a leader in my own right. These leaders we're talking about who are corrupt, came from all of us. The man at the INEC is part of the civil society who just got lucky to be appointed the chairman of INEC. But imagine if that change started from when his mind was being formed. Do you think there are people, for instance, the woman that stopped, I'm just giving you instances of what could be possible. The woman that stopped, that helped Alex Oti in Abia State to win, that refused to be bought, is part of our society. That's a leader. She believed and she acted, and what happened? The result was seen. It took one person's decision to say, I will not join this. I will do the right thing. Even if you put a gun to my head. You think she's not hungry? You think she didn't want that money? But her mind is already transformed. She knows what is right for herself. Imagine if we start building such characters in secondary schools, in university students right now, in primary schools, what could be, what is possible. Let's look at what is possible, not what has gone or what is even happening now. We can't continue to look at our circumstances now. We need to make a shift. This is, I will keep singing this. If I have to do it 100 times on this town hall meeting, I will say it. We need to shift from the complaints to thinking strategic solutions. That's the only way forward. And that's what emerging leadership is. A leader who sees a problem and all he sees is an opportunity. That's what emerging leadership is. And it's possible in Africa.
It's possible.
And it's not
Absolutely.
cliche. These are practical steps that we can take. Just you and I.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Look
need to
at
hold
what is
ourselves
possible.
responsible first. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, Uloma. Let's get in some more questions. Let me take in Oje for Raphael and Adiolu Allen and Francis Achike. We'll take those three and you can take them together. Oji for Raphael.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation, Ma. I participated in campus activities while I was on campus, and I had a terrible experience. Serially, I was always rigged by the system. From course rep elections, through departmental elections, faculty, and even SUG, elections are constantly rigged. And we who are politically exposed young people have already been confronted with rigged processes and believe that, and so many people now believe that if they do not align with the people who control or who can rig the processes, we will not be able to make a headway. And I've met several people, my peers, and we've had several arguments where they question the demands of patriotism placed on them, especially by a leadership and a people or a system that even scorns them in the process of bringing or churning out leadership. And being a victim of the system, I was in government before I was a ministerial aide, and I left the system because it looks as though I'm not normal. Someone expects you to collect money in order for you to give him access to your organ. And before you know what's happening, you do not accept. And the others in the office feel that you are spoiling business for them. And before you know what's happening, the very system you're even trying to protect is now skewed against you. And you find yourself alone. And I believe that there are several other people who are out there who are trying to make little contributions or a little mark in their own little space. But the system keeps frustrating them. And in the end, when they discover that they are just alone, if they either compromise or they step back. For me, I decided to leave government. I left Abuja and relocated to Lagos to clear my head. And so for people like this, what will you do to help such people, for them to believe that indeed this thing can actually work?
All right, thank you. So let's take Adeolu Allen. Adeolu Allen, go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very much excited hearing the speaker, really making, a lot of solutions to getting emerging leaders from campuses. My concern is actually how we can be involved in this campus campaign to see how young people even get into secondary school. So I was excited, and I was thinking that what area do you really want to, how do you want us to work together to get you platform for campus, and what do you want to offer? Because I lead a mission agency that is running in campus, and by God's grace and by privileged relationship, our president in ALGA is the chairman for this organization. So it's going to be something we would love to collaborate with and see how we can. I really wanted to know, because I joined in a little late, to know what area do you want to, what do you want to offer the campus to get emerging leaders well oriented to coming into leadership and all that. But I am sincerely very encouraged and really interested in seeing how we can collaborate to give these platforms where needed. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have a meeting in the next 10 minutes, really. But we just if you can just leave a message on the group right now, I can, maybe your number, I can take it, and then we'll connect after my meeting. I'll call you so we can connect and extend on that conversation. And please welcome on board. Thank you.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Just before you go, let me take Francis Achike. Let him put in his question so you can take it all together before you leave.
And if you can also
Francis,
add Auntie Yemisi
okay,
to it, so
Auntie
she can
Yemisi,
take everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Francis,
leave the message on the Zoom. My team is here, so they will pick up that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, thank you very much. May I first start by thanking most deeply the presenter for today. I could see the deep honesty in her presentation and the deep beliefs in what she's preaching to us. And I have no doubt that if we follow what she says, it can lead us somewhere. Having said that, I also want to praise the wisdom of the 80-year-old lady who spoke earlier on.
Yes.
She has said it. She said a lot in those few statements. Now, my contribution is this. Everything Uloma has said today to me is good. It's good to pursue. But again, if we do not go to the fundamental, the root, as a physician, I know if you do not deal with the etiology, you are not going to cure the illness. The root of our problem is corruption. Every other thing we have talked today deals with corruption. And if we are going to deal with corruption, we must follow that single principle: follow the money. Follow the money. All these, the young folks, the 80-year-old lady referred to, did not do well because of the money they were going to get. Our politicians today are looting the country. It is the money they are getting. And like Uloma rightly said, they are just like us. They sit on the toilet bowls just like us. And they know they are corrupt. They know they are thieves. But nobody is doing anything to get them accountable. We have proposed something we call Project Consequence. Since 9/11, today, by chance, today is 9/11. Since 9/11 in 2001, any amount of $10,000 that moves around in the international financial architecture is traceable. We can trace their monies and begin to prosecute them in countries like America, and around the world, and in international criminal courts. These are criminals running our country, and once they begin to know that they can be held accountable, the behaviors will begin to change, and all these things Uloma has been saying, people mobilizing, can begin to be effective. Otherwise, they will not be effective. And quickly to the last statement regarding what our 80-year-old wise mother said. Yes, we are also excited about what is happening in Rwanda. Thank God Rwanda has made some great changes. But if you understand the international politics of what is happening in Rwanda, quite often when the world or powers push a war in a country or disaster in a country like the genocide in Rwanda, they calm down for a while out of guilt. It is that period that Rwanda is enjoying now. You guess what? It's beginning to change. They are already pushing Rwanda into war. Look, think of this. That's my last sentence. A country like Britain has unwanted immigrants, and they are forcing that upon Rwanda. Have a second thought. Is Rwanda a sovereign state, which another sovereign state can dictate to absorb unwanted people, criminals, and so on? You push them on them. That is part of the neo-colonialism that Rwanda is facing now, and so on. So Rwanda is doing fine, but we need to be awake to the possibilities that these folks don't want good for us in Africa. And that's why we don't have electricity. I stop at that. Thank you very much again, Uloma and the ALG for this great platform.
Thank you, sir. You actually made my point. I don't know if you followed us initially when I said anytime an African leader is trying to get it right, the West will either fund an opposition, or they find a way to create conflicts, create war, divide and rule. That's what it is. But we can't keep blaming the West. We have to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility. The West is going through someone that's African to perpetrate what they're doing. They're not doing it in isolation. Look at what is happening with Mali, with Macron. So, like I said, my generation is gone. We need to start growing home solutions. We can't keep looking to the international world. It's only Africans that can solve African problems. The West is not interested. I live in the West. I run an organization, Innovate Africa, which they see as a lobbyist. I know what I've gone through to sustain that organization in America. They are always watching me, and I don't care. This was given to me in a dream. There was a prophecy about it, and I had it in a dream. And I know God is standing with me as an Esther. If I perish, I perish. It's a cause. Obasanjo asked me, this is massive to take on. Are you sure you're ready? And I'll give you all the support you need. And I said, yes, we are ready. Someone needs to take up the risk. There's so many people doing so much that I'm doing, but we're trying to collaborate. We're trying to build partnership, find such organizations and partner with them. That's the only way. Only Africans can save Africa. Look into the international with all of that cannot save Africa. They're not interested in African growth. We are the only ones that can save Africa. And so, if that is true, how else can we do it? That's all I'm saying. We can't keep dwelling on what's done or what is being done. How can we do differently? And it is possible. Very possible.
Uloma, did I hear you say
IMF,
you want to go at
IMF
6:30 or so?
I think
yes, 6:10.
before she runs
Six.
off,
All right, Jumoke, over to you. You would get.
Miss Ransom Kuti speaking.
Okay,
I
go
thought you
ahead.
gave me a chance. You permitted me.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Uloma,
ma. Go ahead.
I love you. This is Miss Yemisi Ransom Kuti. just to tell you that I love you very much for everything you have said today and all the wonderful things that you're doing. I just had a similar conversation with my daughter, who is a professor of political science at Oxford University, and her cousin, who is an international development partner official, the other day. And they told me not to worry about Nigeria's future, that they believe your generation is on top of it, and you're speaking to that. You're obviously fearless. You are not discouraged by all the shenanigans that are going on, and you are ready to take on the challenge and not waste your time lamenting about the old issues. I really, really love you for that. And I always urge young leaders to organize more effectively and collaborate with each other. And you mentioned that. Holding hands with each other, and ensuring that you have this strong critical mass of young people who are ready to step into the space and take on the next level of our development. And if you can mention some of the platforms here,
Auntie,
so that
sorry, Uloma has to go. She has another meeting.
Yeah, I have to go.
If you can,
what
30
advice
seconds,
do you want to give young people who are running for office at the local government level? Because a lot of you appear want to be part of
before you run off, she asked that question, but I also wanted to lend my voice to thank you.
Thank you.
To really thank you for what you're doing, and to tell you you are inspiring a lot of people. I applaud your courage. I applaud your effort. And I'm sure there are opportunities for us to really work with you. You're speaking my heart and the heart of many young women that want to do this. So thank you for what you do. God bless you. God will continue to encourage. And if there's anything here we can do for you at ALG, partner with you and support this cause. We are in this together, and it seems that the vision is really aligned. So we thank you for your time. And I'm sure maybe we'll have you back when you have more time, because this was very, very encouraging. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Collaborate and support you.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
You can share my details with the people who are interested to partner and collaborate with us in what we're doing, ma'am. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. I'm so sorry I really have to run for this meeting.
I understand.
Thank you so much.
Much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
So I think we'll but this is the call to action that we've been talking about for the past 3 weeks, right? We've had a few other speakers come up, and this is really a call to action. So this is time for us to take this on. Last week, we started to talk about doing the right thing. The guest speaker just said everyone should do the right thing. Uloma talked about leadership, and she really spoke my heart, because we keep pointing to leadership as though it's government. But it's very instructive when she said the leadership is within us, is within our sphere of influence, what we can do to begin to make those changes. How do we educate the young ones coming up? How do we influence those in our community, whether it's in our neighborhood, in our churches? So this is really a call to action that we've been on for the past 3 weeks. And I'm hoping that it doesn't just end here on this platform. It continues. We continue the conversation as we start this campaign of do the right thing. Do the right thing, whether it's shunning a corruption, refusing to take to offer or even take a bribe, calling out our leaders, holding them accountable, looking critically at the bills that are being passed, getting more involved, whether it's at your local government level, just influencing marketplace, grassroots, universities, wherever it is, that we can lend our voice to changing the mindset. So this is really a call to action. And you guys know I always put in the plug in for our School of Leadership and what we're doing here at ALG. It's part of what we've been doing for the past few years. We have that School of Leadership and Governance that teach the citizens' responsibility and awareness. We actually even did financial literacy for some of our young, we did this for the youth corpers that were just getting out of youth corps, and then project management courses as well. So there are a lot of ways you can get involved in changing the mind. And one of the things that we're pushing for, I believe Mr. Albert, who is the director of Solage, is not here, so I don't want to speak for him, is the youth development training for local government positions. We want to train our youths to be able to vie for this position. It's not just to train them, give them the skill sets they need, whether it's in public administration, public speaking, understanding the constitution, the legal framework for their jobs, and then providing them with the soft skills they need. But we also want to support them. We want to support them to run for those elections. We want to take this message to the grassroots. We want to take it to the marketplace. We want to take it to all the labor unions within our community. So this is where we can all get involved. You are in one local government or another. What are the trade groups or the trade union in your local government that you can, just have a meeting with, bring them under the mango tree. Let's have our town hall meetings as we used to back then under the moonlights and talk about real critical issues. These are the things that we as individuals must do. It is what we can do and it is what we must do to be able to move forward. I keep saying that 2027 is tomorrow. Politicians are mobilizing. They have this down pat. What are we as citizens doing? Are we going to be reactionary as we are, or are we going to be responsive? Are we going to be very intentional in providing or in strategically developing our response to this coalition that they're building to continue to hold Nigeria hostage, to continue to dominate Nigeria? Or do we rise as citizens to take our country back? It's really up to us. So this is a call to action, and we are going to keep calling everyone to get their hands into it. Uloma said something that I think a lot of people say. We can't be self-serving. It can't be about us. It has to be for the communal good, because the communal good indirectly benefits you. But what benefits you directly is going to also impact you indirectly, negatively. So these are just my thoughts. I know she fired me up when she was speaking today, and her courage, her fire has also just really ignited that passion in me that we can't be quiet, we can't be silent. Nigeria is our responsibility. Nation building is our collective responsibility, and we must do this together. So I put a link in the chat for those that are interested in engaging with ALG. We have this Do the Right Thing campaign going on right now, again from last week. We have jingles, we have radio jingles, and we have it in different languages. We're looking for people that can do skits, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, or whatever social media is out there, X. I don't even know the names of all these handles. So participate, contribute your talent to moving this forward. If you have means, media outlets that can help us, please go ahead and put your contact in the chat room, and we'll definitely follow up with you. So again, sincere apologies to those that we were not able to take. Auntie, I know I cut you off, and I'm going to really apologize for that, but Uloma had to go. She was supposed to have left at 6:10, and we kept her a little bit longer. But I also did not want her to leave without me really applauding her courage. So apologies for cutting you off. So this is the call to action. Faye, I don't know if Mr. President wants to come back to close, or do we take more announcements? You can get involved with ALG, and also we are constantly looking for supporters, financial supporters. Everything we've been doing is we don't charge for our classes. We've been doing it for free, and thank you to a lot of the facilitators that have also been given their time. But as we expand to the different parts of the country, we want to do this in Enugu, we want to do it in Kaduna, we want to do it in Zamfara. We want to take the message out to the grassroots. So we're going to need a lot of funding. And as part of this forum here, if there's anything that you're led to support, if you want to support the youth training, let us know. We can get you more information about it. If you want to support HAF, which is the Hope Alive Fund, it's an empowerment scheme to support up-and-coming entrepreneurs with grants. At the local level, we have the Fan initiative, and we've used it as a tool to get into different areas. We give out palliative, but we use it as an opportunity to educate them on their civic education and civic responsibility as well. So we don't just go into those communities to hand out food. We speak to them about how they can get engaged, who they should ask questions, and what their responsibility is in making Nigeria great again, or in making Nigeria work for them. One of my aunties from this forum said something yesterday to me. She said, you have to work for Nigeria so that Nigeria can work for you. So that's another call to action. You have to work for Nigeria so that Nigeria can work for you. So it's all hands on deck. It's another call to action, and we're going to keep calling everyone to get involved, to participate, to change where we are, to change the landscape, political landscape, social and economic landscape of the nation. So thank you again, everyone. I'm going to hand over to Mr. President if he's available to have the closing, the last word. Is Mr. President available? I know he had to go off to another. Okay. All right. So thank you again, everyone. And if you have any questions, if it's still open, we still have a few more minutes left that we can continue this conversation. This may be a good time for you to ask questions about the different initiatives that we've talked about here and at ALG. And if you want to get involved, I like Uloma's approach. It's not about the problems, it's about solving solutions, and we all have it. So let's open up. I am going to open up the floor by unmuting you, and please go ahead and ask any questions you may have. No questions, no comments? All right.
Uloma, I just wanted to say that Mr. President will not be able to come back.
Okay.
He's currently already engaged.
Okay. Okay. All right. So on behalf of the leadership of ALG, thank you all again for joining us this evening. We'll see you next week, same Zoom link, a different topic. And please share the flyer with a friend, share it with your community, share it with your WhatsApp group. People say we're not just talking, we're changing minds and we're informing people. So every time you come on this platform, there's something you get out of it. You're more empowered with the information and the knowledge that has been shared. So this platform is doing it's doing good work for all of us. So please be sure to help us promote it until this is in the hands of every Nigerian. Thank you again for your time. God bless you. Yes, Auntie.
A quick request. Can I please request that ALG, working with an organization like Enough is Enough, compile the list of all the officials, the senators, the reps, the councillors, all of them, and if we can post it regularly on our platform so that our members can access and engage at that with these officials. I think it's useful for us to have that information. Can ALG do that?
We've done it before, and maybe we'll just update it where I think we did the list of we've done
regularly,
it before. We'll
every week.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Faye, please take note of that. Let's work on that.
Making our day brighter and more hopeful. As always, thank you, Jumoke.
Thank
you. And the ALG team for all that you do. We love you so much. Thank you for everything.
And thank you for inspiring me to always wear Nigeria. So I make a conscious effort to represent Nigeria. Buy Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Buy
we
Nigeria.
Must invest in ourselves.
And the spirit of excellence. We must uphold the spirit of excellence in everything we do.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do the Right Thing campaign start. Do the Right Thing campaign. We have started that. If you have a media outlet, if you can help us with the skits on TikTok, Instagram, just let us know, and then we'll get that started. So
yes, please
thank you again,
post
everyone.
it to our groups so that we circulate
Okay, so
right
I have the
campaign.
script. Okay, I'll put it on should I put it on the coalition group or LIC group?
All groups, just where the campaign is to bombard everybody with it. So as much as possible, post it to as many groups, and we will also